Question: why aren't we born perfect? Seemingly simple question, but is it? So the first thing I would say is, what do you mean with perfect? Define perfect. There is no such thing as perfection. Perfection is a concept created in the mind of duality and separation. There is no standard we have to live up to. No outer standard. No standard defined here on earth. The other thing I would say right away is, what do you mean, when were we born? You mean this lifetime? Or do you mean when we first originated many lifetimes ago? Because in a sense you could say we were born perfect the first time we came into being as a self-aware being. But we were not born with the highest level of consciousness possible. So as I've explained, we came into being as a localized self. When I say we, I mean the conscious you. We have a spiritual self that exists in the spiritual realm, and you can say that spiritual self is born perfect in the sense that there's nothing wrong with it, there's no flaw in it. But it doesn't have the highest level of consciousness. It has the potential to grow, and the purpose of our existence is to grow. So that's why I said define perfection, because many people will say, if something is perfect, it can't grow, it can't change, it can't become better, or it wouldn't be perfect, right? So the I Am Presence is born with a limited awareness, a limited sense of self, and it has the potential to grow all the way to the greater consciousness. And so now, as I explained in my video about how the world was created, we live in an unascended sphere, and I explained what that means. That means there's room for growth. There's also room to go into duality and separation. So at some point, the higher self, the I Am Present, decided to send an extension of itself into this unascended sphere, for example, to take embodiment on a natural planet. And that extension is what I call the conscious you. And in a sense, that conscious you was also born perfect, because there was nothing wrong with it. There's no flaw in its design. But it is born with a very localized, point-like sense of self, and you're looking at the world from that. Even as you're looking through your body, you are looking at the world from one vantage point, and that's symbolic of the conscious you. So the conscious you descends into this unascended sphere, takes embodiments, and when the conscious you descended, it had the option, it saw itself as connected to the I Am Presence. It didn't know about the I Am Presence, but it saw itself as connected to something. So it had the option to expand that sense of connection, or to go into what I call separation and duality. And you could say that when you go into separation and duality, it's not that you are changed, that you become something, but you take on a sense of identity, a sense of self as a separate being. And you could say that the sense of self that you are a separate being is imperfect, and that the sense of self that you are a connected being is perfect, if you want to apply those terms. I wouldn't, because the common view of perfection is, as I said, something that doesn't change. And there's really nothing inherently wrong about going into separation. It's simply an experience we're allowed to have in order to explore what we can do with free will. So as I said, most people on earth, many lifetimes ago, went into separation. And ever since then, people have built all of these separate selves that reinforce the sense that we're separate beings. And at some point, people turn around and they realize they don't want to go further into this rabbit hole of separation, into this maze, into this dark underground dungeon, and they turn around and start reaching for something more. And eventually that can lead us to, again, reach the 48th level of consciousness, see ourselves as connected beings, and work on expanding that connection, which is what I call the spiritual path. So this is why in this lifetime you were born with the state of consciousness you had. Again, I would not say it was imperfect. It was just the state of consciousness you had. Wherever you were at, you could have been below the 48th level, you could have been above it, you could even have been beyond the 96th level when you were born. But the important point is you have the ability to transcend your current state of consciousness. And if you want to talk about imperfection, it's when people are not willing to transcend their current state of consciousness. And perfection would then be when you are willing. So in other words, there's even a concept in the Bible, I can't remember the exact quote, but it's that God says, I will remember their sins no more. And there's also another one where you are blameless before God. So you can say, when you are committed to transcending yourself, you're blameless before God. God will remember your sins no more when you overcome what I call this subconscious selves that cause you to go to that level of consciousness. So in a sense, you can become perfect by dedicating yourself to the path. But again, as I said, I don't generally use the word perfection because it, for so many people, implies that something could never change. And the whole idea, or the whole reality of the teachings that the Ascended Masters are giving is that everything is changing. There really is nothing that isn't changing anywhere in the universe. Self-transcendence is just, it's life, it's awareness. It's what the universe is all about.